Well, one thing we learned consistently about Donald Trump when he was a criminal defendant is that he doesn't care if his words and actions and social media posts are used against him in a court of law. He doesn't care about the backfire. And it's one of the things I actually enjoy about Donald Trump is that he is the definition of insanity because he does the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Now we have a new posting by him on social media, which confirms what we've seen in his actions and will be used by his adversaries and by the courts up to the United States Supreme Court against him. He just declared on social media that he doesn't believe in the due process rights, constitutional protections and privileges that are the bedrock principle of our constitutional republic. He doesn't believe in the Fifth Amendment. He doesn't believe that people should have their day in court, or what he says, if we gave everybody a trial, we would be tied up for 200 years. I love when he says things out loud that we've always recognized, but now we can actually use it against him. And what we're seeing is that the Supreme Court is watching him carefully. They are deeply skeptical about the Trump administration. It is going according to the plan that we had here on MeidasTouch, which is the longer he talks, the worse it is for Donald Trump. See, he thinks, as a megalomaniacal, egotistical narcissist that he is, that the longer he talks, the more he'll convince people. The more of him is actually better, when the opposite is true. Less Trump is better. Less talking. To paraphrase Hamilton, he should talk less and smile more. But that's not this president of the United States. And all of the people that are working hard to restrain this lawless president are happy that he gives them the ability to use his own words against them. I'm going to use his own words against them right here on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. I'm Michael Popak. Let's dive in. So after his Easter screed, there's never a good time. There's never a better time to attack the American people, our justice system, and your political enemies than a major Christian holiday like Easter, especially coming off the death of Pope Francis. But to Donald Trump, it's just another news cycle for him to vomit on the American people. And the polls are starting to reflect that more of Donald Trump is not better. More of his attacks on the judiciary are not better. It's actually worse. It's seeped into the water supply. 58% of America thinks Donald Trump should be impeached and removed from office if he doesn't abide by the U.S. Constitution and continues to fight against the United States Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court is worried. Here's the new words that are going to be used against Donald Trump in real time in his cases, and there's 150 of them or 140 of them around the country and up at the United States Supreme Court. I mean, he has pending matters at the United States Supreme Court. There are at least a dozen appeals that are at the Supreme Court, including on emergency bases. And Donald Trump just undermined all of them by saying the quiet part out loud. They have a joke in Washington that you know what they call a Freudian slip in Washington? When you accidentally tell the truth. Here's Donald Trump's Freudian slip. He said, in effect, that America cannot give everyone a trial, which I'm sorry, that means he's not in favor of the Fifth Amendment and due process rights. So let me juxtapose this for a moment. Donald Trump, on one hand, says if you attack the United States Supreme Court, you are a criminal and you should be prosecuted, while he attacks the United States Supreme Court. I mean, when he's not busy fist bumping John Roberts and patting him on the belly and saying, "I'll never forget you," at the I added the wink in the shot at the joint session speech. You know, he's busy criticizing the Supreme Court, who has his presidency in the palm of their hands. He needs all the votes he can get. But here's what he just said on Monday. I'm doing what I was elected to do, remove criminals from our country, but the courts don't seem to want me to do that. My team is fantastic, doing an incredible job. However, they are being stymied at every turn by even the U.S. Supreme Court, which I have such great respect for, but which seemingly doesn't want me to send violent criminals and terrorists back to Venezuela or any other country for that matter. We cannot give, here's the kicker. We cannot give, Trump wrote, everyone a trial, because to do so would take, without exaggeration, 200 years. We would need hundreds of thousands of trials for the hundreds of thousands of illegals we are sending out of the country. Such a thing is not possible to do. What a ridiculous situation we are in. Okay. First of all, we see that the court systems know how to give due process when it's required by the Constitution. We just saw a couple of thousand Jan 6ers before they were pardoned by this criminal president. We just saw them get processed through one courthouse in America, in Washington, D.C., primarily. So we're not calling for, and there's different forms of due process. What the Supreme Court ruled, we have two major rulings on immigration and Donald Trump's policies in the last month and a half. We've got the JGG decision, in which the Supreme Court said 6-3, Trump, for now, you can continue to use the Alien Enemies Act to deport and remove, but you got to give notice and due process. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. Data brokers make a profit off of your data. Your data is a commodity. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, and harassment. But now you can protect your privacy with Delete Me. What do data brokers do? Your name, contact info, social security number, home address, even information about your family members could all be compiled by data brokers and sold online. As someone with an active media and social media presence, privacy is really important to me, and making sure my family and I are protected 24/7 from bad guys trying to hack us, steal our identities, and credit and dox us. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/legalaf and use promo code legalaf at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/legalaf and enter code legalaf at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/legalaf, code legalaf. Okay. How many people are you removing under the Alien Enemies Act? That's only supposed to be when you're at war with a country and you have enemy combatants in the country. How many countries are we at war with? I didn't even know we were at war with Venezuela. Venezuela didn't even know we were at war with Venezuela. So what is that, a few hundred? And so yes, you have to give notice and you have to give due process and bring them before a judge on habeas corpus petition, which is what the Supreme Court said you had to do. Yes, that you have to do. Okay. The rest of the people you want to deport, if you want to remove their temporary protective status, if you want to get them out of the country, there are things you have to do under immigration law to properly do that. Doesn't mean you have to bring them before a judge. But if you're going to deport them to a prison, which invokes our criminal justice system, then you have to use due process and habeas corpus petition proceedings. Not everybody, this is the canard. This is the lie, a series of lies by the Trump administration. This is like 10 Pinocchios. He's not deporting everybody as criminals. But if you're going to call somebody a criminal and not just get them out of the country and send them back to their home country, but send them to a jail, then you have to give due process. And I don't know if Donald Trump is either criminally insane, just a moron, which it may be, or he finds by saying stupid crap out loud that's not true to score cheap political points that this will fool the American people. And frankly, he may not be wrong, because the polling is showing that to his base, and I mean the basest of base, the MAGA base, he can do no wrong when it comes to immigration and his attack on the judges. The more he pushes that button, the more on balance they think he's doing okay. He's got a +1 favorability rating on immigration. He's -10 and 20 on every other topic, meaning his unfavorable rating is between 10 and 20 points higher than his favorability rating. So this is the only thing he's got. He's a one-trick pony. He's got to keep leaning on immigration. Immigrants are criminals. This is his formula. All immigrants are criminals. Criminals must go to jail. I want to jail them without due process. But this whole thing, it's going to take hundreds of thousands in order to get rid of all of Joe Biden's illegally. That's a lie. There is a small subset that he apparently wants to put into jail. If he didn't want to put the Tren de Aragua and the MS-13 narco gang into jail, he could just send them back to their home countries, release them to Venezuela. But because Venezuela wanted to put them in a jail, El Salvador wanted to put them in a jail, and because we were storing in a jail Venezuelans in El Salvador, hence the Fifth Amendment due process issue. If you just want to send them out of the country, you don't have that problem. I mean, there may be some issues that violate immigration law. You got to comply with immigration law. But this does not mean you're going to have unlimited hundreds of thousands of trials. And if you didn't want hundreds of thousands of trials, then you should have agreed to a class action to be handled by Judge Boasberg in D.C., but you didn't want that. So you forced the Supreme Court to order habeas corpus petitions, individual or by class, where these people are located, hence all of the cases. I do love the fact that he does admit that his lawyers are getting stymied by the attorneys general, the public interest groups, the ACLU, who are batting about 900 against the Trump administration right now. They won about 80% of their cases against Trump last time. But this is 3 and 4 and 5 times more cases than we ever saw before. I said there's going to be 4,000 total cases filed against the Trump administration before it's over. At the rate we're going, that is going to be true. So I wanted to kind of burst this bubble, kind of explain the lie so that we, speaking truth to each other, are better prepared for our next debate on the street, for our next debate at a rally. For, a rally a day keeps fascism away, as Representative Raskin says. And then, in addition to that, I want to prepare everybody for the midterms. This has to be seared into the memory. We got to reprogram everybody's minds. We got a group of people who don't believe in this country or its checks and balance or separation of powers anymore because of Donald Trump, his first 4 years and now his first 85 or 90 days. We'll follow it all right here. While you're here, please, this is the plea. Go over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button there. We're adding about 2,000 new subscribers almost every day, to be honest, as we continue to grow towards 1 million. And hit the subscribe button here for MeidasTouch and follow us on Legal AF. I think we're number 12 now in the world as a podcast with your help. Watch us on YouTube. Follow us on the podcast platforms, audio podcast platforms like Apple and Spotify. So until my next reporting, I'm Michael Popa. In collaboration with the MeidasTouch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.